It's a story about a trip I took for 4 months around the United States. I went to places where movies and TV shows were filmed. I hope that by going to these places I might see them for what they really were rather than my image or my expectations of what they were. And through that unearth some of my own media expectations that I didn't know that I had. I started up, I went a loop up the west coast. I went to like where Stand By Me was filmed, Oregon. And I went to the Northwest, which is where Twin Peaks and North Exposure was filmed. And then I got across to Iowa. I went to where Prince's hometown, Minneapolis. I went to Boston for Cheers, down into Florida, and went to places like Thelma and Louise. Stand By Me was the first location on my trip, and it was the one where the small town of Brownsville is where the boys were based on. It's where River Phoenix says goodbye to Will Wheaton. So actually I went to this museum and I got a list of all the locations and I walked around and I talked to the people, and it was really disappointing. I mean, of course, it's so silly when you think about it in retrospect. It's a, it's a movie set from a movie that takes place in the 1950s. Of course it's not going to be that. There's not going to be, little hot River Phoenix running around. But still, it also made me get in touch with my own nostalgia. Like being there and seeing them, I still had some guttural reaction. Like I saw this bridge and I remember that scene, and maybe it's a kind of a petty connection, but I still felt something. I definitely feel like I came at it like I'm going to go out on the road and I'm going to dispel these myths, and I'm going to go to these small towns and they're going to be bullshit, or I'm going to go to this other place and it's not going to be like the movie at all. And even though I knew that, I feel like more of the trip was me learning and coming to accept, I guess, my own romantic side, and being like, it's okay to have these illusions and have these kinds of ideas, and just the whole idea of a road trip. I mean, here I was going out to debunk all these myths, and yet I chose the most romantic possible way you could go, the road. I mean, it's a big myth in our society. There's Easy Rider, there's Thelma and Louise, there's Kerouac. You go out there and you face your demons and you become a much better person. I think my thing is you become wiser and cooler and realer. It wasn't this wild adventure of just letting your hair down and letting everything go. All my baggage came with me. But then there are certain moments when I am driving and I have this convertible and the wind's in my hair, and I was in awe as well. But that didn't happen very often. The problem is actually going to places where the movies were filmed. There's so much rampant commercialization of them. That was very disillusioning over and over again. And even the places where I feel like maybe it did touch me, like Iowa, I went to the Field of Dreams, which I wasn't even sure I wanted to go to. I'm not a big fan of Kevin Costner. I'm not like this guy playing baseball. I never really felt like the movie affected me. But I went to the small town and I followed the signs and I went out there, and there's this bunch of kids that were playing baseball, and I sat on the bench, and it really was that kind of cool. And of course there was a stand on the side and they're selling, Field of Dream dirt. And they were selling little pillows that you can monogram. I mean, it was really cheesy, but I feel like there were moments when I could let that go, and it really was magical. It really was in the middle of nowhere. I finished my trip in Utah at the site of where Thelma and Louise drove their car off the Grand Canyon, or what was being staged as the Grand Canyon. The way my trip ended was very true for the whole matter of the trip. And it's such a cliche, is that the actual destination isn't anything compared to getting there. Because when I was actually at the end where I wasn't sure of the exact spot where they jumped off, I just ended up sitting in my car being profoundly disappointed. But 5 minutes before, I had gotten completely lost and was on my own in the middle of nowhere, and it was the most exhilarating experience ever. I was very hesitant to camp along the way because I was by myself, and I feel like a lot of this book is also about the realities of being a single girl on the road that aren't very romantic and aren't very fun, of having to be necessarily kind of afraid a lot. And gradually as I went along, I think I let some of that go, and I started camping more. So when this last night, I was by myself under this huge sky in the middle of the thing with this train roaring by, and it was cool.